When news emerged that Liverpool had signed Cody Gakpo, the young Dutch winger who had impressed all and sundry during the 2022 FIFA World Cup, the initial reaction was one of surprise for two big reasons. One, he hadn't really been linked with a move to Liverpool for the most part, and two, the move happened in such secrecy that it caught even some of the most well-informed football journalists off guard. However, once that surprise or the dust had settled around that particular move, most people realized that this was actually a really good transfer that Liverpool had managed to get done in very impressive fashion, because they got it done very quickly. It was signed, sealed and pretty much delivered to them with minimal fuss, and in many ways is a move that will only make their squad much stronger. But who exactly is Cody Gakpo, and what is it that Liverpool fans can expect from him going forward once he signs in the January transfer window? That right here is exactly what we are here to tell you. So without further ado, let's delve a little deeper into the player who Liverpool fans will doubtless hope can be a top signing for them for at least the next decade, given his relatively young age. Now, before we talk about his style of play, it's important to look into his upbringing and why it is that he was always considered a young star from the beginning itself. Now, when he first, he was born, he's a Dutch player, he was born in Eindhoven, and he was born with some pretty interesting lineage. He was born to a father of Togolese and Ghanaian descent, whereas his mother is Dutch, and he was born and raised in the city of Eindhoven. And thus it was no surprise that thanks to his talent, or the amount of talent that he displayed on the football field, that he was snapped up by PSV Eindhoven and came through the ranks of their youth team itself. And when he was actually done making waves in the youth team, he was first called up to the reserve team, where in 26 games he scored 17 goals and impressed so much that by 2018 he was already a first team regular, and in fact had already made his debut for the side. When it comes to the main team, not just the reserve team. He had been called up to the first team, he stayed with the first team, and he made his debut, made a few appearances in the first season, and then by the time he had impressed so much that he became a regular shortly thereafter. Because as I said, 2018 February, that was more than halfway through the 2017-18 season, he ended up making his debut for the senior side. And within 6 to 7 months itself, in the very next season, in his first full season with the club, he ended up becoming a regular with the team. He started playing a lot more games, whether it be as a substitute or a starter, and sooner rather than later it just became evident that this was someone who was destined for some very big things. And thus it was no surprise that he continuously ended up improving more and more. In fact, by the time the 2021-22 season came rolling, he had improved so much that in 47 games across competitions, he scored 21 goals and also notched up a considerable amount of assists, meaning he's a very all-round winger and not just someone whose game is one-dimensional and limited to scoring goals. He's a very complete player, and we'll get to why he is such a complete player in just a bit. But after such an impressive CV had been put forth at such a young age, it was only natural that many of Europe's elite clubs would come calling for him, and that is exactly what happened. In the 2022 summer transfer window, when Manchester United were, of course, under the management of Erik ten Hag, who, of course, was very familiar with the Dutch league, having spent a number of years coaching Ajax. He was linked with a move to Manchester United, Gakpo. In the end, however, they chose to sign Anthony, who had in fact worked with Ten Hag at Ajax and has done reasonably well for himself. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that Gakpo's hunger or desire to keep getting better diminished. He played very well for PSV, even though it became pretty clear that he wouldn't be getting a move at least during the summer, and then was one of the shining stars for the Netherlands as they made it to the quarterfinals. In fact, he scored 3 goals, one in every single group game that the Netherlands played. So he was clearly one of those players who stood out, and truth be told, this Dutch team were definitely a collective, very good unit, but there were very few players whose star power necessarily stood out. Gakpo was definitely one of them. He looked every bit a star player and looked definitely like the kind of player who would be impressing for a bigger club if he so got the chance. And thus, it makes a little surprise. It was a little surprised when PSV first actually took to social media and their website, released a statement saying that look, he's been sold to Liverpool. The money involved is believed to be somewhere around the region of 35 to 45 million pounds. That is, of course, depending on add-ons that will be triggered based on appearances, bonuses, and the like. But considering the fact that he's such a highly rated talent, that sum, if he fulfills his potential, will seem like a very small one in even 2 to 3 years' time, especially considering what top clubs are having to pay nowadays for so-called top talent. Now, why is it that Liverpool have moved so quickly to seal his signature? Well, if you look at the kind of game that he has, he's someone who's very, very good operating off the left wing. And of course, he's someone who prefers cutting on to his right foot and then looking to create goal scoring opportunities as and when he can. However, that being said, he does have a very, very good record of creating assists as well. In fact, if you look at his record so far this year in the Dutch league, he's registered 9 goals, but also gotten 12 assists, which proves that he's as good at, if not better, when it comes to creating goals as he is at scoring them. And of course, beyond just his overall team play, if you look at just Gakpo as a player, he has plenty of his own strengths. But perhaps 2 of his biggest strengths when it comes down to it, aside from, of course, his passing and finishing, is the fact that he's got plenty of raw speed and he isn't hesitant to actually dribble past players. Now, Liverpool do have a fair few tricky forwards in that ilk. You remember, Luis Diaz is exactly the same. Mo Salah can do that with his eyes closed. Even someone like Diogo Jota and the likes of Roberto Firmino can also do very, very well in this regard. But he's very, very young and is someone who can actually, get only even better as and when time goes on. And that's why it's a very, very shrewd signing by Liverpool. But that's just how I feel. What do you guys think about it? Well, you can let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to tap the bell icon so you know when we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Then you can also go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Last but not least, don't forget to download the AajTak app. Thank you all once again for joining us. I hope to see you with us through the day, but for now, goodbye.